We're being recorded, so be on your good behavior. I would ask for a motion to approve the August 1st minute that were distributed.
I read them this morning. I thought they looked fine.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion on those? All in favor? Aye. There's a septic rebate request. Scarolino was an amendment. The wrong amount had been put in for pressurized shallow drain field. It should have been $5,000, and it was somehow put down as $4,000. So I think that is just an amendment that the town board. Okay, so I don't think we need to really do anything.
Yeah. The one thing that, after going through the PEP thing and talking about how people, other towns are doing this, they put in a pressurized shallow drain field, which was almost $12,000, and the maintenance for the standard maintenance for a regular IA system is about $900, it looks like. But when you have the
I think it's 1,200 for 3 years. I think.
well, this is 1625 is what it was for this. I don't know that we have a really good understanding of how much that aspect of the projects.
Prices have gone up too.
Yeah, it just it just struck me that.
I mean, so we should be.
Yeah, well, what do we got? $5,000. I mean, we had it's $5,000, and plus the maintenance is rolled into the construction. So it's a big expense that it turns out to be.
The pressurized shallow drain field.
Yeah, the pressurized shallow drain field.
Um,
At least this one here was $11,790, and plus it was an extra $900 for the. Actually, it was this extra $700 for the 3 years maintenance.
of just the.
That they keep it. Well, the 3 years of operation and maintenance for the SEN and the pressurized drain field. In this case, it's 1,625
For 3 years, though.
for 3 years.
I think it does cost a little bit more to have the pressurized shallow drain field. Meg, you could jump in if you want.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that it was.
Annual maintenance.
I had no idea it was more expensive. That it was that much more expensive. And you're right. It's 3 years, but it's out of pocket on day one
Right.
by the applicant. Just maybe
Megan unmuted herself.
we consider.
Megan muted herself.
Meg?
Oh, yeah, it's because it includes both the tank and the pressurized shallow drain field, and we have to pressure wash the pressurized shallow drain fields, and that takes an extensive amount of time. And the county also wants us to include pump outs of the system, which was an extra $900 added to the regular maintenance. So over 3 years, it comes to that 1,625. So divide that by 3 is really what it is per year.
Yeah, annual, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, at this point, that's out of pocket on day one for the people. It's not,
Well, it's part of.
maybe a 3 year.
It's in the original price, but after 3 years, then it becomes an expense.
Yes, that's certainly true, a separate expense. But I just.
Does the cost of maintenance go up after the initial 3 years?
No, so all of the pricing is set with the county. So every year we have to submit all of our quotes and our pricing to the county for their approval, and it's all published online. So all the pricing is set for the year. And each year, if there's a significant change in the economy, like during COVID, the price of the pressurized shallow drain fields themselves went up significantly, like all plastic products did, but
Right.
the PSDs went up by quite a few $1,000s. And so we were able to adjust pricing based on that. But in order to do that, you have to provide the cost from, you know, your provider, like the cost that you pay for the materials to demonstrate why it's going up that much. So, but, you know, these prices are the ones that the county sets and approves.
Okay, that's good, thank you, good information. Something that I didn't have down.
All right, so, it was just, so you're okay with that then?
Yes, that was an aside.
Next, we have Raymond request for payment for 62 West Neck Road. Lori's here, maybe she'd like to walk, so it's pretty convoluted. There was a letter of explanation, I don't know if you guys looked at it or not, but.
I did my best to try and write it out for you.
Yeah, no, it's pretty,
It was helpful.
but the way I'm reading it, Greg's work was sort of like not part of the bill.
That's right.
But he's itemized work that he did, he worked under his,
Yeah, the choice was either that Greg could do the electrical work and the work to remove the porch boards, or Shelter Island Sand and Gravel would hire somebody to do it. So, and by doing it himself, we were able to save the porch boards when we had to replace the pipe, and because he took them out carefully one by one, which took him like 3 days. He didn't charge for all his time, but we were trying to do it so we could save the material,
right,
put it back down, yeah. So,
okay,
anyway.
and,
And then the
Was it
electrical underwriters,
Right.
Greg was going through his electrical master's training for his electrical license at the time. And the instructor, which we paid for his electrical training classes, was the actual electrical inspector that does most of the work on Shelter Island. So he came out and used it as a training exercise. So that saved the town $200. I know it's not a lot of money, but it's $200 you can use for someone else. So anyway, it was a savings doing it that way.
and then, you know, the tree I get was in the way, and to try to get the roots had to be yanked and all that stuff, I get that.
Yeah, and part of that was because we couldn't figure out why the pipe coming out of the house did such a deep dive. And it was deeper than the county regulations allowed it to be. So we had to replace that pipe, and the only way we could figure that out was the previous contractor took the easiest path, which was under all those giant roots, which made it impossible to try and replace the septic tank. So, you know, we had to excavate all that and get all that out of there in order for the equipment to get in to do the work.
And that caused the issue with the lawn.
Actually, we had met with the engineer and Meg on several occasions before we did the work, because I was really worried about changing the grade and making sure that we could not have any erosion issues or flooding issues, because we had that when we first built the house in 2004, and I didn't want to go through that again. But unfortunately, because we couldn't get the grass seed to get planted and before the weather got bad in November, we did have erosion problems, and we did have to repair a bigger area in the lawn because of erosion that happened until the spring came to get the grass growing again to slow the water down. But like I said, luckily we didn't get any violations from the town. They allowed the time to bring it in, but we did have to bring in the septic contractor brought dirt in and planted the grass seed twice. And then I had to hire a landscaper to come in and do it. So that's the only thing that I would ask of you to consider for future people, is that, you know, there may be more economical ways, like to keep planting grass seed and bringing dirt in, because when we're getting these heavy rains on a sloped property, it's not keeping anything in place, even with the burlap. So the original lawn was zoysia, and we did that in 2004, after we had learned that lesson the hard way, trying to keep the grass in place so that it would grow long enough to prevent erosion in 2004. And the zoysia is not only drought tolerant, doesn't have to be watered hardly at all. And it takes much faster than grass seed, and it spreads. So on a sloped surface, it works much better than grass seed than to just keep throwing grass seed at it, which all ends up in the street, in the catch basins anyway. So,
Well,
but I'm here in case you have any questions.
So Children on Standing Ground put grass seed in once, then they came back and put topsoil or some
They did it,
soil in and
They did it
put
again.
grass seed again and put the netting and the stuff on it,
that's right.
burlap. And then it had a problem again.
That's right. It grew in the less slow places, but once you get these rains, it just washes it all away, and then the grass seed all ends up in the flat area.
So that's very thick and lush.
So that's very thick and lush, and the others are bare. I still have bare spots, but it's better than it was. At least the zoysia's growing now. So that's good. I started out with little tiny plugs about the size of a little bigger than a quarter. And I would say they are about this big now to about that big. So it will eventually spread and fill in, hopefully, the gaps.
Well, I mean, we've routinely not, gone for above and beyond for more than seeding the area. I get the tree and everything, because that was in the way and it was causing an issue for the lateral to be at the right elevation and whatnot.
I mean, I could have kept seeding, James, but then I'd be seeding, I've already seeded 3 times. I would have done it, had to do it a 4th time, a 5th time. I mean, I don't know how many times you want to.
Normally, we wouldn't have paid for it except for the first time.
But you should be able to restore your yard to its existing condition. And that's all I'm asking. So otherwise, how many people are really gonna want to tear up their entire yard to put an IA system if you're not gonna let them restore it to its existing condition?
Want to do the right thing, I'm sure. I think in this case, I mean, it's sort of like a trade-off. I mean, because you absorb a lot of the other costs that might have been attributed to this project by doing stuff yourself,
We did as much as we could, yeah.
directing your person to do it for you. So I don't know, what does anybody else feel about this?
I feel like it's important that we do allow the homeowner to just bring it back to what it was before. We're not paying for extra stuff, and extra landscaping and planting bushes and trees and whatnot, but when you've got this sloping, you have properties that are for sloping, and they're gonna have this problem. We need a lot of heavy rain.
We
Did
did,
you mention in the first place that you use Zoysia plugs?
yes. And Meg said that the Childer Island Gravel would not pay for zoysia plugs. They would only pay for grass seed.
Probably in hindsight, I guess it would have been good to say, well, give us a credit for the grass seed and we'll do the Zoysia plugs. But
I think it's important to note that we did not charge Lori for the grass seed or the topsoil or the jute netting. And it was very clear in the beginning that if she wanted zoysia grass, she was going to have to get someone who knew how to do that, because that's not what we typically do. So we did what we typically do, which is the topsoil and grass seeding, and we did that twice.
In the area that you're describing where it digs into the soil and washed away, that is over the piping and the equipment that in the ground. It's over the.
And the first 2 times it washed away, it actually covered the septic covers because there was so much runoff that the dirt got pushed because of the heavy rain. So I had to dig out the covers that were now buried under the dirt.
The covers didn't come off.
No,
Oh, good.
They're perfect, you know, it's like,
Landslide in California.
Greg, the grass seed would be so happy, is I have all this natural manure here. Why?
We do that very carefully on our hands and knees, James, so as not to disturb the covers. I did get my water bill in the mail today too, but
The watering.
yeah, it was only about $40 more than normal. It wasn't horrible. I was really worried about that. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah. We,
Thoughts?
Like I said, I just think we're just bringing it back to what it was before. I mean, so it's a little bit extra, it's a different choice based on property.
well, and it was Soiza grass, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that area was the Soiza grass.
It was.
And it was requested up front
Yeah, I did.
with the installer. And I guess, you know, we do have, you know,
The Zoysia plugs don't wash, if you'd put the Zoysia plugs in before the heavy rain, would they have washed away?
It's a lot harder to wash them away because they're actually plugs that you
Right.
dig and plant them one by one.
Right. I had the pleasure of doing a whole lawn for somebody when I
It would
worked
have
for.
been a lot easier to do sod, but that's not exactly very water friendly, so. And
No, the Zoysia grass is very
Yeah, looking for-
ecological.
stuff that's low maintenance,
Just
no
turns
water.
brown.
and we also have a situation, I guess, where, you know, in number two, item two in the summary of the extra, of the expenses, the removal of the porch floorboards and the electrical, there's kind of a little bit of a balance there in that they have put sweat equity, and I guess you could consider that their request,
Now,
their
the
request.
West Neck home repair, is that a pro bono thing, or was that part of this 5,000?
No, it's part of the 5,000. So, because he is asking to be paid for the time and materials that he used in that invoice. We had to upgrade our electrical service, which many people have to do.
Well, we've seen that on other applications.
Even when I worked for the town, I was seeing that.
And we've seen it, you know,
Two ways
we've had, you know, we're not gonna, you know, our bottom line is we weren't paying for somebody to upgrade their electrical service.
Well, if it was necessary for the IA, we
Yeah,
said, yes, we'll cover that. But if you're saying, yeah, and I'm gonna do, you know, a total new electrical system upstairs, in the upstairs attic or whatever.
No, but I would have
The line on
you
that.
paying for somebody to to get a whole new electric service.
It wasn't a whole new electrical
Right.
service. It was just a sub panel from the existing service.
Right, so,
Just saying
then,
hypothetically, like-
I mean, we're talking about something different, you know, it was a whole other thing that was
Not related to your
not
application,
related to this.
Okay.
another application.
I'm like, I don't know, you didn't have to quote me as the engineer.
Well, that's why we have this committee to evaluate the circumstances, and
Yeah,
we have some leeway and some adjustments. I don't see any, I personally don't see a problem with this.
the point that you made that it was the Soizer grass, it was Soiza, and now, after the natural regular grass seed, now it's back to Soiza, which is functional in that area, which replaces, and it is what was there. And
And
that's,
that's needed to deal with the sloping.
yeah,
And granted, we spent thousands of dollars planting that yard with zoysia grass in 2004. I only bought a very minimal amount of plugs and put it in the sloped area. We use grass seed on the rest of the areas. So it's not like we even restored it exactly to its existing condition. We have a lot less zoysia now, and we're hoping that it'll it'll eventually spread, so. It was only in the sloped areas that wouldn't accept the seed, couldn't keep the seed long enough there to grow anything.
And I guess the oily soil as well from,
I do, I still have bald spots from the oil, yeah.
Well,
I said what my take on it, so I'm waiting for you and Tui?
It sounds like we're replacing like kind, so. And I don't think it would have worked without it, right?
Correct.
I mean, I don't know enough about blades of grass taking wood.
I don't know either, but
Evaluation.
I know that, you know,
Well.
I thought there was more pro bono stuff going on here than that, but, than just the inspection. So I don't know, I have maybe an issue with it.
do you know, was it known that the lateral was gonna have to be adjusted? Was that part of their additional quote, that they knew that that was there?
Yes, because they could see somehow that it took a deep dive when they were looking at the pipe from the inside,
Okay,
outside based on the elevation.
It's so strange, they would go under and not, you'd figure that they were like circumvented or something. It's not usual.
They were able to reuse the leaching fields. You know, they looked at those, inspected those, and those were able to be saved and reused, which is good because those were only put in 2004, so they weren't that old.
well, I guess my thought kind of, I find myself aligned with you two,
Okay,
that
so
it was a replacement in kind, the zoysia grass, and it's unfortunate that the grass seed was used, but it certainly doesn't seem like it's appropriate to make any effort on that, the homeowner to.
you know, I think it's too bad that there was effort wasted trying to put the seed in, I guess is my point. You know, maybe there could have been, you know, while there's no charge, there's got to be some, if you didn't do it, there's got to be some credit. So I think going forward, I would say that if in a situation on a slope area is encountered, let's not waste money trying to do something that may not work. You know, if we know that this is a bad flood prone area or whatever, you know, for a specific spot. You know, I just don't want to, you know, waste money, you know.
Me either.
So I guess in general, I don't have a giant objection to it. There's a lot of moving parts to it. And
There certainly are moving parts. And if it rains hard, the moving parts are the grass seed, mud.
well, could be worse. It could be California. Anyway, so I guess we'll vote.
That's,
Or you want to make a motion to approve this?
yeah, we should probably speak to that a little bit, in that it is 8,322 and 07. And this was originally, the original conditional rebate was 15,000. So it's just over half of what the
Right, the rebate was.
amount.
I don't have a problem with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have really a problem with anything. It just was a lot to.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try and
I mean, you want to make a motion to approve?
anybody else want to take a shot at it? I'll take a shot at it if you want.
I think you have to get into too much of the minutia. I think
Just give the final amount,
just the facts.
Say again?
just the final amount, I'm trying to.
No, I think that we've looked and we've reviewed with the owner and the installer about the circumstances of the total charges, and the only issue that we've come across, I think I'm saying this correctly, was the the grading and and the seeding of some of the steeper portions of the property. We've noted that the initial, what was down there was Soiza, and what seems to be working now is the Soiza grass, and that it is a replacement in kind to have this more expensive Soiza material. And it would be our judgment that we should approve the request, which turns out to be $8,322.07. At the same time, we also acknowledge that there was a good deal of sweat equity that the homeowner has spent in making sure that they could reuse the decking and some of the other electrical system work, and that is part of our considerations here. And good luck on this, Jessica. That's my motion.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, videotape.
Somebody put the replay. Okay,
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
And when it, and if, I guess I could take a look and find out what I said on, once this goes up online, and I'll try and put this into.
It sounded correct.
If
It
it's
sounded correct.
too unclear.
I think it hit the points that are important to acknowledge, I hope.
I think you did a good job. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Could you repeat the dollar amount, please?
832207.
Thank you. And I gave you all the photographs, so I documented it all the way through from before, during, and after, so you can see how much fun we had.
Maybe we'll have to do a video of you.
Oh,
Yeah, you'll be next.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Municipal cough, 48 Common Avenue, Greg?
Isikoff, the applicant had 3 open construction permits. And they've done the exterior information on that, the building department, but the building department has not been able to confirm the number of bedrooms. And everything in the application looks pretty good. It is a voluntary application, so sadly, I don't think that us holding this back until the building department tomorrow is supposed to go and take a look at the inside. And I don't think that this is not going to race ahead, unfortunately, because it's a voluntary.
And
Hopefully,
it's not gonna raise any questions like in terms of like Sen 5, Sen 7, there's not like.
it could conceivably,
That's all.
again, the system designer has said, okay, how many bedrooms it is, but exactly, I guess I always like to know, since there were the open permits, it would be really nice to have the town to say, yes, we agree that it is 3 or 4 bedrooms.
That's actually a good question. What were the permits for?
I didn't go into the details. It was 3, but it was construction work. Building.
So
But they weren't
expansion.
or they weren't mandated to put a new septic there.
It's my feeling that if we have a situation where,
Well, it's pre-existing, if it was an expansion, it was pre-existing.
well, I don't know whether there was an expansion. That they had no idea. They said, oh, we have open building permits, which, that's the applicants had that, not knowing what was open. So, I don't know.
We don't know if it's mandated then. We don't
But we don't know if they have to make a larger one in there.
Right.
That may be the case. They're asking for this regular size.
Yeah.
To my mind, I wouldn't want to approve this for
So you're saying you want to hold off?
I want to hold off for a month. That way I'll have the information and the building department will say, yep, this looks like the appropriate use.
This is either that we're gonna pay for it or we're not gonna pay for it, so we have to wait.
Is this 4B Peconic that you're talking about?
Hold on.
48, yeah. Oh,
4B is correct.
Okay. It does not look like they've done any work to that house in a very long time. So these may be very old permits that they never closed out. So I would definitely check on that. The reason why they started the process was because they have an old brick system that needed to be upgraded. It was slowly failing. So I was not aware of any construction happening on that property. We started it as like an emergency repair.
Ah, okay, that wasn't
So it's
clear.
not, then it's not voluntary, it's emergency.
Well, it's voluntary because it hasn't collapsed, but it is an
Yeah.
old brick and it's just slowly failing. So it's not like
Deemed to be
catastrophic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that it's brick deems it to be failing.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's always the tricky thing is it's not like emergency where it collapsed.
Right.
Those are expedited, this is just like failing, deemed failure.
You know, I mean, conceivably, you know, we could, I guess, we could make that point and, you know, and as soon as we get the information from the building department saying, yep, this is the appropriate size and we're okay.
They're asking for a 7.5?
So, yeah, they're asking they're not asking for anything larger, but I would like to, it would be a little embarrassing if 2 years from now, the building department did go in there and say, hey, wait a minute, you've got extra bedrooms that we weren't unaware of.
Mhm.
Well,
And then they
they
would
put
have,
down how many bedrooms they have, right? I mean,
well,
on the application,
you know that the determination of how, you know, what are bedrooms is, it's flexible. You know, the county and the building department is really the voice to say, okay, you've got, you know, a hallway, you know, I don't understand all the details of it, but depending on where the hallways are and the doors to the room, you know, is that office room now technically a bedroom? I don't know. I'm letting the building department determine that.
okay, all right. So
I think
then you
that's-
want to postpone?
Yeah, if we're holding something up, we could certainly put this through. I don't have it written up to be done that way, but,
I don't think
Well,
it sounds like we're holding anything up. I think it's going ahead.
Just waiting for a verification.
yes, and they, you know, they had,
So you want to approve it pending the verification?
yeah, approved, we could do, you know, we could do that. I don't have the write-up to give you.
But there's
I
no,
think the repair, it's going ahead anyway, right, Meg?
well, it's at the DEC.
Oh.
So there's no need to rush it if you want to
Right.
wait.
I think you can wait another month.
Yeah.
let's wait till the next meeting.
Okay. So we'll hold it, and it's really just waiting on this one piece of information. You know, they're right on the water body.
Right.
Right. So,
It's definitely something we want to do.
Right, or
they're reasonable, it will be a reasonable reduction in nitrates. And it's right on, it's like,
The board.
it's not Crab Creek, it's
that's practically,
coming back. Brown Sound, whatever.
it's right on Crab Creek, which is
Yeah, that's what I thought.
potentially a damaged area.
I mean, you know, flushing and everything in there, definitely you want.
So we'll hold this back up, and it'll be final at the next meeting.
Next one is Lang, Julia.
That's me. Okay. All right, so Lang is at 82 Smith Street. It's approximately half an acre property. They are going for a Sen 5. It's a very tiny house, 1 bedroom. Did you guys get a chance to look at the engineer? Did you look at the engineer's thing? But basically, they don't have to move their well. That's in the engineer's report. On the drawing, you can, on the engineer's construction plan, you can see where they have the old septic versus the well and where they're going to put the new one. It's not going to be eligible for pressurized shallow drainage field due to the smallness of the
Right.
property, and everything's too crammed in there with the well and so forth. They did have a water test, and to give you an example, using our old, let's see if I can find it, using our old way. So if you remember the old scale that we used to use, it was like you'd get 5 points if it was under a certain amount. It was 5, 10, 15, 20. They're in the 10 category. I think their water test was like 2.65 nitrates, okay? So if you remember the old column, that's like the
Right.
second to the
Yeah.
end. Not too bad at all. They're in, technically Smith Street is in our old center triangle, as you know. And what else? It's a failing system, not an emergency, but it's a failing system. And in terms of the nitrate reduction kilograms annually, I used our old Excel calculations, and it comes out to 10.6 kilograms per year nitrate reduction. And basically it's going through about, I think it was 60,640 gallons of effluent are going to be treated annually. And in terms of the rate, the return on investment, it's going to end up being 2 cents per gallon for 5 years. Okay, but again, it's a very small property. It's from like 1953. It's voluntary. They included their grants that they put in for both grants with the county and state. So really what I proposed on this one, I filled it out already for Jessica, would be to give them the base grant of $12,000. I'm not going to say anything about the PSD because their property doesn't accommodate that kind
And
of.
they don't need a well.
And they don't need a well. Well, as of right now, it says they don't need a well. I think we all agreed as a committee that we're just putting that in there tentatively, just in case. But
100%.
yeah, but I want you to just let you know on the application says, and the engineer's report says as of now, they're not going to need that. So it would be definite, probably 12,000 with a tentative 4 held in reserve just in case. So the total would be 16,000. And their contractor is Shelter Island Sand and Gravel. And they have all the other they have a plan, they have everything. It's pretty clear cut on there. And they're not doing any construction.
Do they have any soysa grass?
I actually did, I probably might buy it, but I haven't looked at it. I haven't actually taken a look at it, but, so that's what I think on this one.
Pretty flat.
Yeah, it's flat. Anyone,
Second.
want to second me on that? So again, to A2 Smith Street, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve them for a Sen 5 and with a base grant of 12,000, holding in reserve 4,000, just in case they need to put in a new well, totaling 16,000 grant from our town. Second, so you second it?
Yep.
Okay,
Are you in favor?
aye?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next one is Eddie. That's on 15 South Midway Road. This was actually Betty's
Well, right, okay.
work up on it, so she just gave it to me to represent it. It's a 4-bedroom house. We, Recycling that is, did work in there about a year or so ago, and it was like a facelift, like new windows, new siding, new kitchen. They did, they finished the interior trim themselves, but they didn't add no different accommodations. The floor plan stayed the same. Didn't add anything or really change anything in the house. So from that standpoint, I don't see a problem. The only problem I do see is it's a 4-bedroom house and they want to send 7. Maybe Meg could speak to that.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm mute. Yeah. So if it's known that the house might be used as a rental, sometimes the engineer will upsize the system to accommodate the extra use and abuse that most rentals get. So that could be the reason why. But it's really up to the engineer. I don't know exactly why you made that call.
Well, so they would pay for that then,
Right, so we would.
I would guess. I mean, they really only need,
They pay for the difference.
they pay the difference.
Yeah.
She doesn't really spell that out here, but I would.
Theirs is not a failing system.
1975 is the age of the septic system.
So,
No, but it's not necessarily, it's not gonna be block.
Right.
May not have an RO number. But, you know, they're going bleaching pools. There's no mandated relocation or do of anything of the private, of the well or anything. But they're pretty sure that everything is good. You know, that there is a plan already, you know, pretty much done. The only question I have is who's paying the difference, or, you know, are they aware they're paying the difference? So maybe that would be something that we just mention to Betty when she gets back, or I can call the people and find out. But you know, I would think that a motion could be made to approve it for the base grant of 12,000. They seem pretty sure that they don't need a well, and that they're not using a pressurized shallow drain field. So I would, with the caveat that, you know, they pick up the difference between the Sen 5 and the Sen 7, I would recommend that they get the 12,000, you know, on Betty's behalf at least.
that seems reasonable.
Yes. You know, and they're right across from, you know, Manana Creek. So, I mean, and that, you know, it's part of like the watershed, if you will, going, you know, the flow is that way, for sure. You know, it's gotta be a couple of years to get to Manana Creek. So, you know, that's certainly a benefit, you know, and creek keepers would be very happy about it. So I would think that it's good. My motion on Betty's behalf, would somebody like to second it?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
No, I have no.
Fine.
But just with that caveat that the difference is paid for by the owner. Fantastic.
Well, we said approved, right?
Yeah, I said aye.
I think we said aye. So.
I didn't hear ayes. I missed that part.
The financial report.
We have a sheet.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say.
Yeah,
I mean, so.
yeah, it is what it is.
Okay.
Tying, well, this sort of ties into, you know, like the next thing on the agenda is this PEP meeting that Greg, Betty, and I, and Meg went to at the Stony Brook campus in Southampton, which is a very nice facility. It's right on the water there. They got a very nice thing going. You know, and there was a report by the Suffolk County Health Department, you know, on what they're doing and what PEP is doing. One theme that seemed to run very throughout was everybody's awareness of the need for outreach, which is interesting. You know, I mentioned it when I was there, and you know, that PEP is hiring a person, you know, specifically to kind of get people interested in doing stuff like IAs and being a consultant and, you know, being available to go to the various municipalities. So that's good. And that's good. You know, the health department for their part is doing a lot of new hires, according to them, to try to get the log jam unjammed. They realize that this is you know, and I don't know if it's all predicated on the referendum in November, or, you know, if the referendum fails, do they say, forget that, you're not hired, or is this going to happen anyway? That's, I guess, to be seen. I'm not sure anybody knows that.
I think on their standpoint, they have a lot more money than we have available. So, of course, but the county would continue to be the save.
Yeah. I seem to hear, and I'm not sure if I heard it right, East Hampton was clearly hugely more grants given than we have. But it didn't seem like Southampton had given that many more. Did you get that? You weren't there.
It was a smaller number, you're right.
It was not something, I thought it was somewhere around where we were.
East Hampton was.
Gigantic.
Yeah, 544 or something. Southampton was considerably lower.
So that surprised me, I guess, a little bit. And they're working on, the health, from the health department's point of view, they're training, using, instead of waiting for the infamous green stamp, they're doing various forms of letters to the municipality so that it sort of streamlines the ability to get paid. However, this was a momentous day for me, after like however many years, I finally got a green stamp from the health department, which was a happy day.
How many years?
2018. Wow. Whatever. But we got it. So it was, I thought, a good meeting, and I thought that there was a lot of interaction between parties and sharing of information. So I thought it was a good thing. Greg, do you have any?
Yeah, we talked about.
Greg was stellar. I forgot to mention.
You got to give him kudos.
He had them wrapped around his finger, that audience.
I do something better when I can stand up and dodge people, so that's another story. Some of the things that we talked about, and it went both ways really, is that when I mentioned that we support well relocation, and that the comment was, you support well location? And it says, yeah, if the county says you have to move your well, that's part of the IA system. And
well, most of these people don't have that problem, or a lot of them don't.
yeah,
And Shelter Island, Greg made the point of how unique Shelter Island is because, the main thrust of the county's incentive to get this whole thing going was, tidal wetlands.
Right.
Where, Shelter Island has both. So that was a good point to be made. And so almost every area on Shelter Island is, like a high priority.
I don't think you can go 3/4 of a mile and be away from water body. It's they are, and I'm not certain whether or not it's that they're doing it or they're talking about it, is a maintenance for low and mid, the maintenance cost
Helping low income
That
people
would
with
be-
maintenance.
on a continuing basis, and say, okay, that would be continued to, I don't think that they were doing it. I think it was part of a conversation at this point.
Talking about it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably contingent on the outcome of the referendum.
Very likely, that's certainly true. There was a maintenance support. Oh, there was conversation on the accessory dwelling units.
That's a good point, actually.
Greg, my vendor hand.
Meg?
I was just gonna say, I think they did actually roll out the low to moderate income funding for maintenance. So I think that is actually live. They are doing it.
Oh, good. They did talk about the ADUs, and that brought up something that we were gonna put on the agenda. We didn't do it, I thought.
What was that?
About, if somebody got a grant for an ADU, even though it was an expansion of density or design flow, whether they would be eligible for septic grant.
Yes, yes, that being, I think there's a lot of things under consideration on ADUs and affordable housing, and one of them could be that even though you look at it and say, well, there's more people there, you would still consider supporting it to an upgrade to the septic system.
Because they're doing it for affordable housing.
Even though,
I
yeah,
mean, that was, this has been talked about a little bit in the past.
Now you guys are hand up again on that.
Megan?
I was just gonna say Suffolk County has $2 million specifically earmarked for septic systems in conjunction with the ADU +1 grant program. So people who are applying for the ADU +1 grant can also apply to Suffolk County specifically for a septic grant to go along with that ADU +1 grant. So it's earmarked specifically for that program.
But couldn't they could just do it anyway, right? I mean, they're eligible for Suffolk County and New York State grant. It's just the town grant that they're not eligible for, right? I mean, maybe having the money earmarked is, a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe they get more of a fast track or something, but.
Yeah, that's the trick, is the earmark for the money is to fast track it so that they're not in the queue for 2 years, waiting. So that's why it's specific to that ADU +1 grant program. Everybody in that grant program can apply to go through the normal channel in the county. And if they have a failing system, they can get it within a couple of months, then it's not a problem. But it's for those systems that are not necessarily failing, but want to upgrade or have to upgrade. The county's trying to give them a fast track to do that.
there's that sounds good. The other topic, which I probably made a fool of myself, but I'm good at that. The categories, there is an update to the state law.
It's in the works, Phil.
64E, and supposedly it's on Opal's desk.
Any word on that? That legislation that feel?
That has to be voted on in November.
Oh, is that a referendum too?
It's a referendum.
What happened?
It's a referendum that's on in November, I thought.
I thought there was legislation that was just gonna change,
This is the legislation. I don't think.
the county thing is a referendum.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
maybe there is. But
I'm confusing you.
what they've done is that they have removed the definitions for water quality improvement project. And so that there is no wastewater treatment improvement, non-point source, that list of 7 things that we were able to support. And in its place, they're creating 2, I guess you could solve committees or whatever. There is going to be an 11, I think it was an 11-person, it's an 11-person organization, a committee who are going to, I thought I marked this on the sheet here. There's going to be counsel, a legal team, if you will, that will evaluate applications that don't fit clearly into past projects. And then there's
Don't fit clearly within the past criteria.
This is the same, Greg, you put this on email, it's the same one I'm looking at.
Yes, that they are going to put, let's see, the Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committees to advise town boards regarding policy and administrative issues relating to funds established pursuant to this section. The committee shall consist of 11 members. The members shall include from each town, supervisor or designee, a representative of village government to be jointly selected by villages in the Peconic region, and 5 members selected by the state legislature. And they will be
complicated.
That could have been anything done with all those people on it.
They are the new Fred Todd. They took 11 people to replace Fred Todd. That's the only way I could read it. And then the other part was that it's the council, what the hell was it called? It's the Office of Regional Community Preservation Fund Council. So to give legal opinions, I think, to the 11 members of the other committee, but that.
And are we allowed to reach out to them, or, you know, like somebody like our town attorney allowed to reach out to them, I suppose?
You know, the legislation says it's got to be ready to go in 90 days. So they've got to work out what the committee's going to be. The council, legal counsel is probably quick, but they have to have it in place within 90 days according to law. And the questions about, do we get to call them? What, you know, who does what is, it's not written down yet, at least not in the presentation that was made.
You wrote on top here that it looked like it was already passed. It was passed. It just needs a signature.
Yes, it was passed by the Senate and the Assembly.
And then you also mentioned that it was, it adds language to help disadvantaged communities. That was line 47 to 48. That's a new thing in it.
Yeah, yes. So that's going to change.
Changes a brewing.
It changes how, I guess, to a certain extent.
Doesn't have to, really. I mean, you know, we can still use the same criteria.
That's certainly true.
I
So,
mean, why would we, I mean, we wouldn't change what we're trying to do, I don't think.
no, it shouldn't.
But if there was some exception that we didn't.
Maybe that's easier to fit it
You
in.
would go to this group.
Go up to
these
the group
groups,
that.
Or a higher authority.
That's exactly right. So what do you folks think about this? You know, instead of, we've just.
We've done it occasionally, I mean.
Well, I mean, the zoysia grass, you know, somebody wants zoysia grass to replace the zoysia grass that they have. You know, you could get,
Albany, that one.
conceivably, you could go upstream to the Committee of 11. The Committee of 11 may go to legal counsel and say, if you're in this circumstance, you know, is that legitimate according to the code now? I think that's the way it might work. I could be wrong. That's all.
Well,
Sounds
we've
complicated.
kind of done that in a way. In some of these projects we've looked at, we've had the applicant come up with an expert who adds a letter attesting to the merit and the science behind it. Then we have Joe. I mean, we've kind of in a way done it without another third party, like third committee, you know.
That's true. It's, when you're looking at the way they're changing the state law, they're
Yeah.
basically saying, you know, the Committee of 11. It sounds a little communistic, but that's another story.
I think some of the things that might go up to the committee, I know when we first had this, the legislation was passed, was some people, like, we can't use the money for new growth. And some people would say, new growth would be if you've got a house being built on vacant land, that's new growth, not eligible for funding. There were others who would say that was a buildable lot, so you're not creating new growth. If you were doing a subdivision, you would be able to fund that. So that those are the kinds of questions I think maybe we can answer. What exactly falls into the definition of new growth. So I don't know if they want to get involved with this waste and question. Just guessing.
Yeah. That's all I see on my note here, what came out of that meeting, but there may be something else, but.
It was good. I mean, you know, and just another thing, that the Green Expo thing went pretty well, I thought. You know, it's pretty, you know, a lot of people wandering through and asking questions, and.
It was in a better spot this year.
I think so. It was easier to set up, that's for sure.
I like the spot better. I felt like there was a lot more people walking by. It was like a
Right.
funnel, you know. I like that aspect of it.
So everybody that was in the back parking lot at the school had to
Well,
Yes.
yeah, they came past us to get the food.
I think we need to rethink, unrelated to us and unrelated to the Green Expo. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce probably has to think a little bit more about getting more action going for the arts and crafts. I mean, that would might stir things up a little bit too. Anyway, the outreach initiatives, just a continued thing. Did you do any more filming?
I did, so one thing I did was I was supposed to pick up this packet for you at the Green Expo, which I
Right.
messed up on and didn't take it home with me, so now it's walked somewhere, we don't know where it is. But maybe, Meg's gone, okay, so it looks like Betty had collected some helpful information that I was gonna put in this mock brochure, but I don't physically have the document, but I believe it all came from Meg Larson, so I'll contact her and try to get this content back.
And Greg might have it.
He says he doesn't have it.
Who took it? Somebody took it. Well, maybe Meg took it. I don't know.
Well, anyway, but don't worry, I think I can get it anyway. So, but then I also took, James was kind enough to send just some thoughts on
Random
top of
thoughts.
just a brain dump. So what I've done is I created like a little place where I put all the information. Betty had sent some stuff, and James, and Tui, you're back now. If you just thoughts about IA septic in general for outreach, for like a pamphlet, just keywords, phrases, myths, I don't know, like a Q&A, anything you can think of, just send them to me and I'm kind of compiling it. I didn't get a chance to do a mock up of an actual brochure. I think I'll try to work on that maybe next month. What I did do was I went to a former applicant that we had, I actually handled his application here, Burns Patterson. Remember him? He's on 3 Hillcrest, I believe. So we did, I think about a year ago. And he was actually an applicant that came on that night, and just to hear how we ruled on it. I remember Burns. Anyway.
Yeah.
So because I already knew him from the application, I approached him. He's actually lives down the street from me, and he's very into his IA. He's happy to do it. He's satisfied with everything. So I filmed him giving a little spiel about his. Do you want to put it on? And so this will be our second person. There's Burns.
Stars in the making.
Yeah.
My name is Burns Patterson. My wife Ruth and I live in the Silver Beach area of Shelter Island. We put in an IA system about a little over 4 years ago. First thing I would say is it works. We've been working perfectly, so that's the main thing. But we also feel good that we've done something for the water quality issue out here, so that feels good. We knew we had an inspection. We knew our system was in fair condition, was how they phrased it, but the time might come we'd have to redo it. And truthfully, without the grant program, I think we would have probably put in the old-fashioned system again, just based on cost. We did receive grants both from Suffolk County and the town of Shelter Island. And I guess I would say to people who are wondering, first of all, it does work, and the money is real, as people have said, but also there are a lot of there's forms and red tape, and you think, oh, this might be exhausting to go through the process. And instead, I just have to say that both the paid staff in Shelter Island, the volunteers on the water quality committee, and the staff at Suffolk County Health, people really want the program to work, so they held our hand through the whole process, really step by step. Our installer vendor was excellent. I guess I can't recommend in the video, but it provided references, so they were great in terms of telling us how it would work. So we recommend it. Really, it worked. You'd be a little patient going through the process, and the town and county really helped you through it, so it's worth doing.
Nice.
And we got a little plug for our committee, which I thought was great. So yeah, that's, and
Thank you.
I'm working on other people.
So I sort of along the same line, we talked about it a little bit. I've gotten the list of HOA chairs, presidents, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe to reach out to them and invite them to maybe the November or October meeting, depending on how everybody, it'd be good to have a good attendance if we, could do that. And, if we were all here just to, and then they could come in on Zoom or whatever, but just to put in a plug for, if they could get, some traction in their memberships to to get these IAs rolling, you know, and that we could certainly help and just like Burns was talking about, guide them and hold their hands and whatever they wanted. And if there were a number of them that decided to do it at once, it would be something new for us, but, you know, maybe we could streamline it a little bit somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see what seems to work. I'll put it out to them and see which meeting date works for them. And then make it happen, see what happens.
That sounds like a good idea.
Old business.
So I had, under old business, I applied to have my water tested to Suffolk County.
Oh, great.
And in fact, yesterday they came. It was about 3 weeks between the request and then showing up to the test.
That's good.
So,
Is this
I'm doing that too.
and when I have it done, Greg, I'll give it to you. So you can put it in your data points.
That's probably like $100.
And I won't ask for
well
reimbursement.
spent.
is that
Invested in your health.
3 weeks.
I think so.
Wow.
I mean, I was surprised that I
Well, the ones in
got,
Silver Beach that we, at our annual
I
meeting.
mean, that's just to get them to show up and take the water sample.
Well, I have to say, that's about accurate, because at the annual meeting, we gave out, information on that to
Yeah.
all the people, and a couple other people said it was about a month, so it's.
Yeah.
It's done online, you do it online, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a paper too, but yeah, it's about a month.
Well, you
less.
can't do it online because you have to send them a check for $100.
Yeah, there's
You
a-
can
there's
get
a
the,
PDF,
get the
you
form
print the
online,
PDF.
fill it up, print it,
Yeah.
and,
So no, that sounds about right,
yeah. But it was,
it's the best deal you're gonna get.
yeah. Actually, because Greg was coming to the house to test or to service the system. I said, well, do a water test. He said, no, you don't want me to do it. Call them.
Yeah.
So, and it was, I'm just saying, I'm reporting that it in fact is working. So we'll see how long
Yeah.
it takes to get the results, but
All right. You'll be a great yardstick.
there you go.
Then you'll make a video of you,
Oh, that's right, we'll throw you
On
in
the water
there.
be a star. Any other old business or new business? What business would you like to pursue now?
The business of closing the meeting.
Okay, is that a?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, and that was the second, and it's so moved. All right, well, thank you all. One thing, Pam, did you have anything to say, or did you?
No, thanks. I was really sitting in to hear how that conference went when you went to Stony Brook. I was curious to see what you found out over there. That was really interesting. Thanks for reviewing it.
Yep, you're very welcome.
Great. Have a good night.
You too.